Christmas is a time for family, presents, twinkly lights, and super dumb sweaters. But for many of us, Christmas isn't really Christmas until we watch our favorite holiday cartoons. There's Charlie Brown Christmas, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and one of my personal favorites, Frosty the Snowman. In the 25-minute cartoon that debuted in 1969, a whole bunch of kids bring their newly made snowman to life thanks to a magic top hat. Frosty the Snowman befriends a young girl named Karen. Silly shenanigans ensue as she attempts to save Frosty from an evil magician, and they even take a trip through the North Pole together. Throughout the journey, Frosty is exactly as advertised, a jolly, happy soul. But was that all a front? Was Frosty actually a corrupt, soulless demon created by a bunch of questionably moral kids? Hey guys, Emily here. Frosty the Snowman started out as a popular song written in the 1950s by Walter Jack Rollins and Steve Nelson, and it was sung by Gene Autry and the Cass County Boys. The song was a follow-up to Autry's super successful Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer from the previous year. And just like Rudolph, Frosty became a very popular TV special. So how could he be a morally corrupt ball of snow? In order to determine whether or not this conspiracy has legs, we need to go back to the beginning, the birth of our beloved Frosty the Snowman, which of course is in the lyrics of the original song. The lyrics include several key points for the argument that Frosty is in fact a corrupt, soulless demon, and 3 are directly related. First, his eyes were made of coal. Second, it was a hot day. And third, multiple children were at Frosty's coming to life event. It's basically been ingrained in our brains that Santa Claus knows whether we've been naughty or nice. If we're nice, we get presents. If we're naughty, we get a lump of coal in our stockings. So if we can assume by the hotness of the day that spring is just around the corner, Christmas has likely passed and these kids, again, plural, have coal. Multiple pieces of coal. What kid has that much coal readily available? Naughty ones, obviously. But were they naughty enough to use dark magic to turn an ordinary snowman into a dark, soulless demon? Hey, I've never known anyone that's gotten coal for Christmas, so these kids are clearly bad news. So far, not looking good for Frosty. Especially when we look at another important line from the lyrics. One far more damning about the quality of Frosty's character. It reads, "He only paused for a moment when he heard him holler stop." Him refers to a police officer, one Frosty totally ignores. Since no one is born evil, we're left to wonder if by some sort of osmosis that the naughtiness from the children corrupted Frosty and turned him into a morally bankrupt, frozen demon with no regard for law enforcement. I mean, if a snowman is willing to ignore a police officer, I doubt he'd respond positively to any sort of authority. Finally, in the lyrics, Frosty declared he would return again someday. At this point, are we honestly supposed to believe that this is a good thing? I mean, in light of our recent discoveries, it's easier to view that declaration as portent for utter destruction and mayhem. And isn't that something a corrupt and soulless demon would totally say before he disappeared? If this conspiracy is the real deal, that would mean that the commonly held belief of Frosty as the jolly purveyor of happiness to unsuspecting children is a sham. So for the last 65 years, have we been encouraging children to practice the dark arts? To create uncontrollable magical beings with no souls or moral codes? Yikes. The entire conspiracy really rests on some song lyrics from the 1950s. Still, the animated TV special that we all know and love adheres pretty closely to these lyrics. And it's the core of who Frosty is and what he represents. So let's continue. Magic is a central plot point in both the song and the Frosty special. As we all know, if good magic exists, so does bad. So it's certainly believable that Karen and her pals could have performed some evil spell using the coal. But it's not clear how or when they learned such a complex art. I mean, Professor Hinkle actually had a degree in magic. Well, I'm assuming he did based on the professor title in his name. And he couldn't get any magic going out of that hat. How did the kids figure it out so quickly? That can't be beginner's luck. Then again, the key to corruption lies in the coal. Magic brought Frosty to life, but the coal and its inherently naughty properties is what we're supposed to believe caused Frosty to turn to the dark side. Could the evil in the kids be so strong that it caused the coal to turn into destructive destructive talismans? The backstory on Karen and her gang is sketchy at best, so it's certainly possible. But the conspiracy takes a major hit when you see in the animated special that all of these events happen before Christmas. So however those kids got the coal, it couldn't have been from being naughty. Maybe they're not so bad after all. But what about Frosty? Let's be honest, it's pretty difficult to justify Frosty's behavior. Encouraging a child to take a trip to the North Pole isn't just selfish, it's incredibly dangerous. The only way Frosty could be excused for such an irresponsible act is if he knew Karen was an expert in dark magic and could totally take care of herself. Yet the police officer's scene is far more forgiving of Frosty. He could have just been playing dumb to fool the cop. I think that part is a wash. So what's my verdict on this theory? Well, I'll certainly never look at Frosty or Karen the same way again. But too much of this theory relies on the origins of the coal, and there's not enough there to prove that these kids aren't evil. So on the plausibility meter, I'm giving the Frosty the Snowman conspiracy 2 carrot noses out of 5. In the comments, let me know what you guys thought of this conspiracy and if you agree or disagree with how I rated it. Subscribe to channel Frederator and happy holidays. It's hard to believe that it's been over 20 years since the first feature-length computer-animated film rocketed into theaters. It's not too bad living the life of a toy, especially if you have an amazing owner like Andy. If you've seen the films, you know that not every toy is so lucky. For example, if you're a toy of Andy's neighbor Sid Phillips, a kid that exceeds in destroying and torturing toys, that is if you truly believe that Sid is a bad kid. Wait, what? Sid might not be that bad of a kid? Clearly we must be off our rocker this time. Sid is totally creepy and worthy of toy nightmares, right? Or could Sid actually have a friend in me?